Good evening and welcome to the 8 p.m. Monday stream. First of all, can I say before I commence, it's time for lights, camera, action. Okay, right, we're going to start in a second. Bear with me. Trying to get stuff aligned here. Someone says, hope you already is starting the TikTok. Nah, it's not. Hang on. I wanted to do this, so I am going to do this. Here we go. And folks, okay, that's enough of that. So I thought I'd start off with a little bit of Wizard. As you may tell, I'm in the Christmas mood. So and that's one of my favorite Christmas songs. You know, there's so much Christmas stuff I don't like. I particularly don't like Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You. The one thing that I'd like for Christmas is not to hear Mariah Carey singing All I Want for Christmas Is You. But anyway, a little bit of music to get things rocking. I hope you like the sweater. As you can see, I'm in full Christmas attire. And yes, I do wish it would. Well, I wish it could be a COVID-free Christmas every day. So first of all, lots of things for me to say here. Pookie Nana, I have to congratulate you on being first on the stream. Well done. And can I also thank everyone else, Chris, Kim, all of you guys, Ozzy, see you all there. Simon, thanks for City Troll, of course. Good to see you all on the stream tonight. We usually on a Monday night we have Rebecca Butler joining us. Unfortunately, Rebecca has had a commitment that's come up, and she isn't able to make it tonight. So she sends her apologies, and I'm hoping to do something with Rebecca between now and Christmas Eve. We'll see if we can slot something in and do something with Rebecca then. But so we don't have Rebecca in the house, but we have got as our super sub Jed. Jed, who's going to be joining me in a little bit. And I hope, and of course, might I just say, by the way, everyone on the stream here, if ever you want to actually come on and talk, you don't have to show your face. If you want to do that, just let me know and I can send you guys, I can send you guys an invite out. Chris Davis, I note your comment. I bet they couldn't believe their luck when they sold. Hey, Chris, you're now blocked from the channel for all time. So so Rebecca's not going to be here. Jed is going to be here. I'm going to talk about what I reckon is some of the big issues of the last couple of days, really. We're going to talk about basically UK becoming the sick man of the world. Cheers, Boris Johnson. We're going to talk about the embargo in the channel and all the complexity around that. We're going to talk about what's likely to happen in the next couple of days. All this stuff. Ozzy says, my niece says, is that Klaus Schwab? Ozzy, I don't think your niece probably, I don't know what age she is. I doubt she said that. And so you're another one who's going to be blocked from this channel in perpetuity. So that's good. Hi, Jeff, by the way, Graham, all good to see you guys joining. Now, do me a favor. And of course, if you're able to share this out there, that's fine. I wanted to talk a little bit, before we get into the topics, I wanted to talk to you about really a few changes that have been ongoing to make you aware of. First of all, I know a lot of people, there's about almost 6,000 people follow me on YouTube, but it's been like that for about the last 2 years. YouTube has an algorithm on people like me, and it stops all growth on YouTube. So that's why I put up a little video on YouTube telling people to follow me in Rumble. If you follow me on Rumble, you will get daily videos. And in terms of, if you wonder what my Rumble looks like, oh, hang on. That is my selection of my daily Rumbles. So if you go to Vance1 is where you have to search on Rumble, and there you shall find the daily videos. So if you fancy a little daily video, and the great thing about Rumble is I can say whatever I want, which is always polite and civilized anyway, but I can say it without fear of, you know, YouTube doesn't like free speech. YouTube wants control speech. And as I keep saying, they're not going to stop me talking about the things I want. You know, thanks, John, by the way. Congratulations for signing up to Rumble. Simon says they've stopped doing notifications on YouTube. Of course. And a lot of the creators that have made YouTube are moving away from YouTube. Now, I'm not one of the big creators on YouTube, but, you know, I don't see a point in investing. So I will stream to YouTube for the time being, just like with Facebook. But ultimately, in the new year, I'll be able to stream to Rumble, I think. So you'll be able. So all the more reason for guys, go to Rumble and follow me there if you like to see regular, like daily videos. The other thing to do is I've also started a podcast, a daily podcast. Again, just a couple of minutes a day on a different topic. And so if you look on my Parler, you will see my the how to get to the little podcast thing. But it's actually on Spotify as well, by the way. I am on Spotify, so I don't know if any of you folks. Hi, Harry, good to see you. How you guys familiar you are with that? But I'm on these channels. And, you know, it's been a funny old year because, as you know, the Nazis came for me on Twitter. And actually, you know something? It was the best thing ever happened to me. Being off Twitter, and I'm really not invested in YouTube, and being on fresh channels, it's absolutely the thing to be doing. I even at my age, I embrace newness and so on and so forth. Hi, Barbara. We're going to talk about goods coming in and stuff. We're going to talk about all of that in a sec. So make sure you follow me in Parler and get as many folks as you know to encourage them to come to Parler, and of course on Rumble, and now the daily podcast as well. So, folks, Kim, you're right. You know, they are dinosaurs. Do you remember? A lot of you folks, I know you're all very young on this stream, but you may remember things like MySpace. Do you remember MySpace and Yahoo? They had their day in the sun. And I believe that Twitter and YouTube are... Hi, Chris, you're in good form tonight. He says, I'm the Joe Rogan of Northern Ireland. Yeah, well, I'm certainly diversifying. Let's put it like that. So those are just a couple of things to make you aware of. Please follow me in Parler to get lots of commentary. Follow me in Rumble for the videos. Follow me on my podcast channel for just audio chats. So that is, yeah, actually City Troll brings up, hey, do you remember AOL? I do, actually. I remember thinking AOL was so cool at one point, Patty, and whatever happened to AOL? And I hope that Twitter and YouTube, they're destroying themselves. They don't want to be the thing that they started out to be. So why waste time on them? But anyway, that's enough of the self-promotion. Sorry about that, folks, but had to be done. And I don't have Rebecca here to keep me in line. So that's, yeah, CompuServe, yeah, all these things, all these old bits of tech. Yes, Jed, I know you're a mere youngster. And as indeed are all of my the gang here that turn up so faithfully on a Monday night to see me. Also, by the way, to make you aware, I do have a show tomorrow coming up tomorrow on Open Dialogus. It's happening tomorrow. I thought it was going to be a different day, but tomorrow I've got James Dellingpole, I've got Godfrey Bloom, and I've got Bill Etheridge all on with me to to discuss a review of the year, really. So we've got all that to look forward to tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And then I'm also hoping to do. Hi, Jeanette. Nice to see you on the stream. Very happy Christmas to you too. So we got all this stuff happening. I've also got an American special coming up. Just as we enter the Christmas period, I want to have a chat about things stateside with my good friend, the City Troll, and you've got that to look forward to as well. Right. Yeah, I'm just looking at all these names from yesterday. Free serve. God, yeah, if I remember free serve. But anyway, so folks, well, what a couple of days we've had. And this is what I wanted to talk about. So I'm going to chat about it, and I'm going to bring Jed on in a little bit of time. And we can have a chat around the big issues. But I guess, that we had the news that, well, from this, let's start with this guy. Oh, no, let's not start with that guy, shall we? Let's talk about Boris Johnson. So on Saturday, Boris and his henchmen announced that there was this new super infectious version of COVID-19 spreading across the southeast of England and London, and Kent in particular. And because of the fast spread of this, Boris had no choice but to plunge the central economic base of the UK into Tier 4 lockdown. Yeah, that was that. What a cracking idea from Boris that is. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with that? Hi, Helena. Nice to see you on the stream. Unfortunately, Chris John won't be on the stream tomorrow night, by the way. John gone for personal reasons. Yes, Boris plunged, I don't know how many million people that was, into Tier 4. And there's been consequences of that. And the consequences are immense, actually. And, Chris is saying it here, the government shot themselves in the foot. Well, yeah, but they kind of shot us in the head as well, didn't they? Because you've seen headlines like this. I'm just going to whack this one up. More than 40 countries now have banned UK arrivals. So not just the EU, but around the world, I believe. Canada. I think the only country that hasn't really got around to banning people from the UK is our friends in America. And that's thanks to President Trump. But yeah, so we've had this massive reaction to the casual suggestion. Well, not maybe casual, but Boris did state we've got this new super infectious COVID. It's built in the UK, COVID. Makes you proud to be British, doesn't it? Who says, hi, John, who says that we can't innovate? And hello, Joe, and hello to my friend Connor, also joining the stream here. And Jed actually makes, well, Jed, we'll talk about this when you come on, actually, about the stream. But, the consequences of what they said on Saturday is so bad that I don't even know where to begin. Apart from the fact that Boris Johnson has spoiled Christmas for millions of people, apart from that, that's just almost by the by. Yeah, Kim says, there's people dropping dead in the streets here in Kent with the new virus. Oh, yeah, just like in Wuhan when they dropped dead. And then Lazarus, they all came back from the dead. But this was, here's one of the consequences as well. The port of Dover and the Eurostar were closed yesterday in a bid to stop the mutant coronavirus spread. Did you see that? And I can assure you from direct experience today, the consequences of that in terms of goods inbound to the UK and outbound from the UK are massive, absolutely massive. And, it's not just passengers. So passenger travel has obviously been brought to a halt, but freight has also been brought to a halt by the French. And so that means that because we've got a just-in-time supply chain coming both ways across the channel, that's been stopped. And Boris is still working on getting a jolly good solution. Well, sorry, Boris, but all the fresh product sitting in the back of vehicles is going to rot. It's going to go out of date. It's going to cause shortages in supermarket shelves, in other shops across the country. So Bobby says the new virus was first discovered on the 20th of September. Why were the public not told about it sooner? Did scientists hold back this devastating news until it was rampant across the whole country? Well, Bobby, you may well ask a very, very good question. And Jed makes the point, these are all the things that have happened. Hancock, he certainly used the mutant variation to shock people. But as you say, Jed, he's also shocked the world. And then the government pretend that, we're so surprised that the French decided to close the ports. Well, I've got to be honest with you folks. I don't blame the French, do you? Because the government just rocks up on Saturday afternoon and casually says, by the way, we've got this new version of the COVID-19 virus mutated, and it's pretty close to here. It's only about 12 miles across the channel. What do you expect the French to do? I don't blame the French. I totally blame the British government. And I'm very suspicious of the British government. And we'll come on to talk about suspicions around the British government. But, and then, of course, there's been this kind of a tidal wave of political consequences. So as Chris points out, wee Nippy has closed the border into Scotland. So it is literally now the police are patrolling the border to stop people traveling to England or people traveling from England to Scotland. And actually, I know people who do go, you must all know people like this. I know lots of people who at this point in the year, just proximity to Christmas, they travel to see their family up in Scotland. People here from Northern Ireland. I'm aware of people who have at very short notice had to cancel all their Christmas plans to see their family, to see their loved ones. So that's a result of, yes, Pookie, wee Jimmy Cranky up in Scotland. So she's implemented this kind of travel ban in Scotland. Here in Northern Ireland, they're fighting over whether or not to stop a ban, to put in place a ban between Northern Ireland and Great Britain. The DUP don't want it. Sinn Féin IRA Alliance and SDLP and presumably also Unionists, they do want it. That is, they can't agree on that, of course, so we're still in chaos. But actually, it appears we may have 4 cases of the new mutated version here in Northern Ireland. So I'm hoping that Sinn Féin will now come out and say, oh my goodness, because of this, we're going to have to close the border with the Irish Republic. Come on, Sinn Féin, let's be having you. If you're going to be consistent, because I don't believe there's any reports of the mutant virus south of the border. So listen, let's save our Irish friends. Put the rigid border controls in place. No? Wonder why. But actually, the thing about this is, as you may also have seen today, the virus, the new mutant virus, has popped up in, I think, Denmark. I think there's been a case in Italy. I think there's another country as well. So actually, we're going to have to ask ourselves a few hard questions about what exactly is this new mutant virus? Is it as infectious as they claim? What is the evidence for this? Is it more deadly or just the same? Does it have a consequence for the vaccine program? All these things we're going to have to talk about. So, we do have a lot of stuff to get through, but the fact is that the United Kingdom has been turned. I remember, I'm old enough, unlike all you youngsters, to remember back in the 1970s when the UK was called the sick man of Europe. And we were called the sick man of Europe because the trade unions, Jed, I see you coming into the studio. I'll bring you on in a second. Back in the 70s, the trade unions under the Labour government were causing chaos. They were crippling public services, destroying the British economy. And the UK was known pejoratively as the sick man of Europe. That ushered in the golden age of Margaret Thatcher. And she fixed a lot of those problems. So Labour turned us into the sick man of Europe. Boris Johnson has turned us into the sick man of the world. Because he suggested that uniquely, this virus mutated first in the UK, in the south of England. And it's very handy that it mutated in Kent and whatnot, because those areas were hoping to get to tier 2. And now they're in tier 4. So, I mean, yeah, I see Kim remembered. Yeah, I see you guys all remember what I'm talking about back in the 70s. And that's essentially what Labour did. But now the Conservatives have done worse, even worse. So without further ado, he's been sitting there patiently. I'm going to bring on the stream your friend and mine. There's no one else like him. Here he is. It's Jed. Jed, you're welcome to the stream.
Good evening, David, and good evening, everybody on the stream. What a lovely Monday evening it is. It's raining heavy here.
Yeah. Well, of course, Jed, we find ourselves on this fine Monday night, pretty much isolated from the rest of the world, because the EU, as you know, Jed, have stopped flights, and France has stopped freight traffic and passenger traffic. So I wonder, have you been shocked in terms of what you've seen over the past, since Saturday afternoon, basically? What's your thoughts?
No, it was fully predictable. We had the scare monster Matt Hancock and his sidekicks announcing to the planet that we have a mutant. That word was key, David. A mutant variant of the virus. He could have used, we have a variant of the virus. He could have used many other words, but he used the word mutant. Why? One, it would scare the British public into doing what they wanted them to do. And two, it would send out a message to the rest of the world that, hang on, we are very clever. We found a mutant variant. Look how clever we are. We're the first with the vaccine. We're first with the mutant. And it scared the world. And I tell you now, if I was in charge of any other country on this planet, I would have shut the door as well.
No. I agree, Jed. We can't blame there's lots of issues I have with the French, but on this occasion, I certainly have no issues. But you're right. Whenever they used the word mutant version, that was designed to cause maximum fear. But then look what happened, Jed. Did you see the sights in London late on Saturday night at St Pancras Station and other stations? I think it was Heathrow Terminal 4, as loads of people then tried to get the heck out of London. And totally understandable. And then on Sunday morning, Hancock comes onto TV and says these people are being irresponsible. Do you think they were being irresponsible?
No, I don't. And I tell you now, it just reminds me of the scene from that film, Contagion, I think it was called, where when people found out it was in their town, they fled their town before they were locked in. I'm quite surprised, actually, that he didn't have roadblocks before he announced. Then he would have matched the film.
Yeah.
He forgot about the roadblocks, and people did what people would do. I am not stopping around if Matt Hancock is telling me we've got a mutant virus. I'm leaving town before that mutant virus gets me. It's a film. I am now watching a movie, David, of real life, and that's how it's playing out.
Well, I mean, we've had, I have to say, Chris Davis, probably that's the top comment of the stream so far tonight. Matt Hancock can't see his own mother at Christmas. You can only imagine her joy. I mean, I think Matt Hancock I think he's a sociopath. You know, when he broke down in tears, strange tears, and also smiling when the vaccine arrived last week or whenever it was, I find that really strange behavior. He's a really strange guy. You know, whenever we hold the Nuremberg-style trials in a couple of years' time, I hope he's one of the first ones to go into the to be judged. But so we had all those scenes, Jed, and as I say, I understand those Londoners trying to get to wherever they could to get the heck out of London, because you know it seems now from what Hancock said that this tier 4 in London is going to last for months, Not just tier 4 isn't just for Christmas. It seems to be for life. I wonder what you thought about that. Again, predictable, I guess.
It is predictable, but I think one of the key things that have been missed, Matt Hancock said all that on Saturday night, and then he was on Mar, I think, and Sky on Sunday. I didn't watch it because it makes me sick.
Yeah.
Those two programs make me sick now.
Awful.
But what he did say is that the police would be stopping people and they would be fining them, penalties, £200 upwards. Then the police came out themselves and went, we can't do that.
That's right.
Because that's unlawful. We cannot stop people and go, you're leaving the city. That's against the law when they're going to fine you £200. We can't do it. One, we don't have the resources, and two, it's against the law.
Yeah, but I think Matt Hancock has actually little regard for the law. But isn't it interesting, Jed, that within a day of all this flurry of dramatic political reaction, we hear this. Let's bring this up. Here you go. Tighter restrictions likely, says Patrick Vance. Yes, Sir Patrick, a man with so many interests in the pharmaceutical world. Sir Patrick thinks that, I don't know, maybe tier 4 is not going to be tough enough. I mean, do you think it's possible that they could crank it up into tier 5? Or what do you think?
I think anything's possible at this stage. Because people like, you said, Matt Hancock will be in the dock, so to speak. I think the first two people that need to be in the dock are the two scientists, because they're the ones that are fiddling the figures. Because I got figures in front of me here tonight, David, to tell all your followers. But it's them that are fiddling the figures, baffling somebody who's clearly doesn't have the education you would think he had. And he's going, oh, yeah. I believe that. Right. Well, what we'll do is we'll shut everybody down. We'll destroy people's lives. We will destroy people's businesses. We will kill hundreds of thousands of other people. But as long as they don't die of COVID, that's okay. These people have got a lot to answer, and they better answer, because the public will want an answer.
Well, this is one of the things, Jed, I've been going on about. I call it rule by the scientists. It's like we're not living in democracy anymore. We're living in this technocracy where so-called scientists, or certain scientists, have absolute power over the narrative. They whisper in Hancock's ear or Boris's ear that, new strain of virus, restrictions aren't tight enough. We've got to demolish the Christmas bubbles. We've got to keep people at home. And they are absolutely listened to, because I think the politicians, the benign interpretation, Jed, is the politicians are scared to say no to them in case it all goes wrong, and then all the deaths will be on their hands. I think that's one interpretation. The other interpretation is, of course, that they're colluding with the scientists, and one's as bad as the other. Well, what theory do you favour?
I'm a bit torn between both of them, actually, David. I know it's difficult to pick one or the other, because I think there's factors of both those arguments that are true. I'll just give you a little anecdote here. I took my good lady down to see the mother-in-law today. She lives by herself, and she wouldn't let me in, so to speak, while they're there. So I literally dropped my wife off with her mother-in-law, and I went across town to see my dad. Now, my dad and his partner have had COVID very recently.
Yep.
I got to their house and I said, look, Dad, I brought you your Christmas card. I don't mind standing out in the rain and we'll chat. He went, no, come in, because we have got the antibodies. And that is the point. He's 79-year-old. He's got Parkinson's, but he still wanted me in his house, even though I could have had it. I could have been bringing it with me, but he's already had it. So he now considers himself safe. And I think that's what other people need to do. If they've had it or had the vaccine, which I will not have, if they've had one of those two things, then I think you are safe.
I think there's a couple of points I've just seen from Darren. Darren Simpson's made a couple of points in the stream here. Darren says, if I can find your comments, Darren, shouldn't we blame China? Yeah, Darren says, shouldn't we blame China instead of our government? We should be blaming China as well, of course. Yes, I agree with that. And then Darren says Theresa May, David Cameron, Tony Blair are all responsible for all of this. Yeah, they are and they're not. I have to say, Darren, I've got to be honest. Boris Johnson's the Prime Minister. He wanted to be Prime Minister. He is responsible for that which is happening most of this year, Jed, in my view. Boris can't judge. You know, if you want to be the top guy, you've got to take responsibility. And I don't know about you, and I don't know what you guys in the stream think, but when Boris comes and does his press conferences now, I make a point of turning off. I won't listen to him. I'm sick to the back teeth of Boris Johnson. But what about you?
I haven't listened to him for months now. In fact, I'll call it the first wave, and I'll tell you why I'm saying I'm calling it the first wave. After that had finished, I stopped listening. And the reason I say first wave, and in quotations, I'm doing air quotes here, everybody, is there's a guy that appears regularly on talk radio. And I don't know his name, and somebody else mentioned it in the stream, but he works for evidence-based medicine. And one of the points he came out with a few months ago was, viruses don't go in waves. You have a virus, that is it. Yeah. How many people it infects is how many people get infected. It doesn't come and go in waves. So when they talk about first wave, second wave, or third wave, whatever, there aren't waves in viruses. It's just a virus that infects people. And that's the first point. But if you listen to him, he is one of those that's saying we are majorly overreacting to all of this. This should just be treated as there are some vulnerable people that we need to protect. The rest of us should carry on, because the rest of us will build up herd immunity by the simple fact that we are healthy, young, and active. And he said, and that, along with vaccinating the elderly, he said all we now need to do is vaccinate, I think he said, another 20% based on those that have already had it, i.e. the virus, and therefore have antibodies, and those that we need to vaccinate is another 20% of the population. Therefore, will be over 60% of people with either vaccine or antibodies. We've then got herd immunity.
Yeah, well,
that's him, Hannigan, yes. And he's brilliant, David. He's brilliant. He knows his stuff.
Yeah. There is. I mean, there are lots of people who take issue with the government's response. You see, ultimately, we do. I mean, I get all the points that are being made from Darren here about Jeremy Corbyn wasn't fit for purpose. Of course not. Labour's not fit for purpose. That's one of the big problems we have in the UK. We've got an absolutely useless Conservative government and an even more useless opposition. And the other parties are nowhere, basically. So it's very, very difficult for the position that we find ourselves. But here's the thing, Jen. Here's the thing. The southeast of England, including London, is the economic hub of the UK. Like, we've got to be honest about that. Other parts of the UK are valuable, and I'm not seeking to diminish them in any regard. But that's where the UK's GDP is generated, in the southeast of England and London. By putting that region in particular into Tier 4 lockdown, I look upon this is like economic suicide that this government is creating, because locking down the northwest is bad, or the northeast, and even here in Northern Ireland, I'm locked down from Thursday, from Boxing Day. But we're smaller parts of the UK economy. London and the southeast are central, and this is basically absolutely going to screw it up. And Matt Hancock is suggesting, it might be for months. And actually, Tier 4 mightn't be hard enough. So, Jed, you've got to ask yourself the question, where on earth is this going to, where is this going to lead to? Because if we haven't got the taxation, the GDP and taxes being generated by economic activity in the southeast of England, I mean, who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for the public sector?
Well, and that is the nail in the hammer that you've just said. Who's going to pay the public sector? You see, because your Matt Hancocks, your Whitties and your Valances and your nurses and doctors and your police and you name it, they're all publicly paid. So they don't generate cash, they spend cash. The only people that generate cash is the private sector. Me, you, everybody here that goes out and grafts and pays taxes. So we don't have taxation. So I'm going to go with a tiny bit of conspiracy theory here, David. It wouldn't surprise me if this time next year we're not doing a stream talking about universal income. That would not surprise me, because they will not be able to afford to pay unemployment benefit or wherever it's called nowadays. And it used to be called dole when I was a youngster. They're not going to be able to pay housing benefits or anything like that. So how are they going to get around this problem? Well, if we pay everybody $2,000 or $1,000 or 1,500 quid a month as a basic income, that is it. You fend for yourself for everything else, because there's no cash.
Well, the whole UBI is an interesting discussion, and we don't have time to go into all of that tonight. But one of the things that you're right to say, Jed, is that if people in the southeast of England now are going to be basically put in a position where they're furloughed for another 4 or 5 months, what that means is they don't really have a job anymore. And so where does that lead? And in my mind, and to my analysis, a lot of this leads to China. So going back to the point which somebody made earlier, China, I have so many problems with China, but at this point in time, the UK and other countries are going to resemble China, because if you have UBI brought in, you'll get your money okay. You'll get your money to sit at home on your backside and just watch TV or you watch stuff on your computer screen. As long as you conform and comply and do what the government says and be a good little boy or a good little girl. That's how it operates in China. If you get a bad score because maybe your browsing history isn't approved of, and
social credits,
Jed, and in terms of browsing history, I fear that people like me would be considered to be bad browsing history. Therefore, it's going to make life, I think we're heading towards a sort of technocratic communism myself. That's where I think we're going to. And I also think, by the way, Jed, this isn't going to get better. People keep saying, oh, it'll, I remember back in March, April, May, people thought we will get to the summer, we will have flattened the curve, the NHS is saved, and it's all good times. Here we are, and it's worse.
No, you're right, it is worse. And where does it end? And I agree with the technocratic phrasing that you used. But I just want to put some figures on for all the people listening tonight. If we go back to 1, 2, maybe 3 years, the average bed occupancy at this time of year for the NHS was between 87 and 89% average bed occupancy. And that was of 128,000 available beds. Now, this year, they've had a reduction in beds to 120,000 beds. So they've lost 8,000 beds in reductions of some kind or another. We now currently, this month, have an occupancy of 77%. So we're 10% below normal occupancy for all beds. So you go, okay, but that's all beds, but what about critical care? Well, critical care, the last figure we had for critical care beds was before the pandemic, and that was 4,000. Now, I'm not having that this government hasn't increased that capacity, but for argument's sake, let's say they haven't. We currently have 1,364 people in critical care. So well less than 50% of those beds are occupied. Okay.
Yeah, but the problem is the government is, I mean, it is kind of remarkable what they're doing. And it does feel like a bad science fiction film, Jed. They're using the NHS to corral us.
As a weapon.
Yeah, absolutely. They've weaponized the NHS, but in order to remove our freedom. I am, because I have got contacts, I'm pretty aware of what goes on in certain NHS hospitals. I know what goes on within certain areas within those hospitals. And I'm afraid that what I hear from people actually working in those areas is totally different to that which you see in the BBC and Sky, where it's a war zone. It's a war zone. Honestly, in some hospitals, I can be pretty certain it's really not a war zone. And so there's such a problem, and you can't believe basically anything that you hear on the news. And Billy Piper's tweet says it's a propaganda war. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that, Jed. This is a propaganda war.
No, it is. It's a psychological warfare, and I know a little bit about that. I've worked alongside people who've dealt in that, and it is psychological warfare. That's why words like mutant was used, like I said earlier on. But just to finish my figures, if you don't mind, David.
Yes,
this year I've got Q1, Q2, and Q4 figures for bed occupancy. Now, bear in mind, the average is between 87 and 89%.
Yeah.
This year, Q1, 66%. Q2, 77%. And currently, this quarter, I haven't got Q3, sorry, is 88%. So we're in line with every single year before this year. There is nothing different to this year. And the final figure, David, before I shut up talking, London. London's got dozens and dozens of hospitals, and as we know, we've said it's now in tier 4. I think there will be a tier 5 and a tier 6 coming soon. But they currently have 2,543 people in with COVID in London. That's out of a population of 8 million.
Yeah,
that doesn't even represent a percentage.
But what, Jed, what you're saying about the psychological wars is so true, because Hancock used the word, the mutant word, which scared the proverbial out of everybody, and then he talked about the fact that it's raging. Raging was the word across the south of England because it's so infectious. So this creates the idea in the average person's mind, oh my God, this is just so bad. We have to do what the government says to protect us because it's raging. And one of the things that I'm raging about is the fact that where's the evidence? I mean, where's the evidence, first of all, that this new form of COVID is in actual fact, is it, it's 70%. I think they've quoted a figure of 70% more infectious. Based on what? Where's the evidence of that?
David, can I just stop you there? 70% theoretically more infectious than the previous, theoretically. So that tells me that is a model. What they've done is thrown some figures into a model. It's come up with a theory number of 70%. They've gone with the 7. So I every single figure that those two clowns, Whitty and Vance, have come out with have been debunked within hours. I expect the 70%, and it already has, because it's already reported in the papers now as a theoretical number, so it's not true, has always been debunked. So I'm just saying to everybody that's listening tonight, I'm not saying that COVID isn't real. It is real. Yeah, it is dangerous for a selection of people. But the 99.9% of people in this country, it is not dangerous. And the government figures have been proven every single time to be incorrect at best, a lie at worst.
Yeah, but and the consequence that is we find ourselves in today is the UK is cut off from basically the rest of the world. So Boris has actually, never mind putting millions of people in the southeast of England, 8-9 million into tier 4, he's essentially put the UK into a position where we are, as I say, isolated. We can't fly anywhere, pretty much. We can't have people fly in to see us. I mean, this is incredible levels of authoritarianism, and it's deliberate. When Matt who's it said? One of the government ministers today said they didn't expect the French to react in the way that they did.
Why not?
Why not? Is there anybody seriously on the stream here, Jed? Just going to ask the folks. I mean, does anybody on the stream blame the French for their initial reaction? Just yes or no. Do you blame the French? Jed doesn't. I don't. If I had been Macron, I would have made damn sure the border was sealed. So, I think that it's the devastation that Boris is creating. Yeah, I'm getting the answers. Nope, 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 no.
I can see him. I can see him, David. Yeah.
You can see him, Jed. And this is the thing, I mean, so I don't believe that politicians choose their words very carefully. I know this from my own past. They're told the things to say. So Johnson and Hancock were told by Whitty and Vance and the other behavioral scientists the terminologies to deploy. And the awful thing is that what bothers me, Kashmi says, we are in Oceania. COVID is Astasia, and the new strain is Eurasia. We will ally with one to fight the other. Yeah, great quote from 1984, of course. I get that one. And we are. And apparently Ozzy's saying, a guy that I thought was in the back off dead, Professor Ferguson, is kind of appeared back on the scene. I thought he'd resigned, but apparently he's back advising the government again. Did you see that?
He never stopped advising the government, David. Right from the outset, from the day he left, he's been advising the government. I can tell you now, he has not left.
Yeah, but that's despite the fact he was caught out on his own hypocrisy. I mean, so many of them, Jed, have been. They are the Marie Antoinettes of 2020. Us mere peasants have to sit at home in isolation. Meanwhile, was it Hancock was out at a 27?
No, I know what you mean. His name escapes me. It's not Matt Hancock.
Tobias, my old pal.
Tobias, that's him, yes.
Yeah, my old pal, the leader of the 77th Brigade on Twitter.
You see, that shows you, David, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that shows you that politicians are ignoring what they're telling us to do.
Oh, yeah.
Celebrities who spout what we all should be doing are also ignoring it. The media spout, you must follow this, otherwise you'll kill Granny, because that's what Matt Hancock said, and that's what Vance said, and then go out like Kay Burley did and ignore it. The only people that are not ignoring it, but trying their best to keep their heads above water, to stop them losing their home, losing their kids, having no food, are the average Joe like me, you, and all these people that are posting messages tonight, and they're pulling their hair out saying, look, I have to feed my kids. I have to keep the lights on. What do you want me to do?
Well,
because I can't do what you're asking me to do. Otherwise, I'm going to kill my kids and I'm going to lose my home.
Well, I was talking to a business later on this afternoon. I popped in a local business in the sort of garden centre world. And the chap who owns it was saying to me that it's a nightmare scenario because here in Northern Ireland, the garden centres close from Christmas Eve night actually through until potentially the 3rd of February. Now they only got that information about a week ago. So they've got, if you imagine a garden centre, they've got all those, the fresh flowers, plants, all that stuff. So I was saying to him, so what happens then? Well, what when you close, what happens all that stock? He dumps it in the bin.
Yeah. Just like the pubs and restaurants.
Yeah, well, absolutely, Jed. It's exactly the same. So ordinary working people, entrepreneurs, small businesses are being screwed over so hard, be they garden centres or, as you say, restaurateurs, or indeed independent pubs, independent coffee shops. A lot of these places are, surely they can't continue. And I know, Chris referred to it earlier, that the fact that I think fundamentally these businesses are gone. They're zombies. They just don't know it. And Rishi Sunak's furlough money is, Jed, I believe, to go back to what you said, I think it is essentially the beginnings of what will be UBI, where the nation will be encouraged not to bother going out to work, sit at home, we'll pay you what to do, and we'll tell you what to think, and you better do what we say. That is what I fear this Conservative government, in quotation marks, is going to bring us.
You're right, David, and we're spending billions and billions on this furlough scheme, and like you said, people are talking 3-4 million unemployed. I think it's going to be more 7-8 million once the furlough money dries up, because there are businesses that are literally closed and the government are paying wages. They are closed. They're finished. They're never coming back. They're never going to reopen. They are final. They closed in March last year. It's just the fact that the government have been paying wages, or 80% of wages. Now, I just want to add a point, because I know there's quite a few people who are self-employed, like myself, and I always go on about the self-employed, the entrepreneurs of this world, the people who go out and graft and only get paid for the graft that they do. Now, they say, Sunak said earlier this year when he first started the furlough that he couldn't do the self-employed because it's difficult to work out how much tax they pay, and they don't pay the same amount of tax as everybody else. Well, if you saw my tax bill for this year, I pay more than what people earn in taxation. But I've not been able to get a single penny because, well, you're self-employed, so you can claim. No, I can't, because I'm also a limited company, so I can't claim. Yet, I can guarantee you, when all this money's been dished out to millions of people, and I'm not saying they don't deserve it, but millions of people, it'd be people like me that go, what we'll do is we'll raise corporation tax, and we'll raise this, that tax, we'll raise VAT, and we'll do this, that, and the other. And I will be paying for all that money I could not touch a penny of.
I know.
Millions of small businesses will be doing the same.
Yeah, right. I mean, Chris Davis asked the question. I'll go first on this one, Jed. Can I ask both of you what you think will end this madness, civil unrest? Chris, let me put it to you this way. I think the only thing that will end this is when enough people turn around and say, enough. No more of the lockdowns. We're going to keep our businesses open. No more of the face nappies. We're not going to be muzzled up. No more of being told we can't visit our loved ones. No more of pretty much everything that the government has forced down our throats. And if we don't do that, Chris, this will get worse and worse and worse. It's got the last 9 months shows you the trajectory. Even today, as I said earlier, Chris, they've got essentially the whole of the country is going to be in tier 4 by the end of this week. And it won't finish in tier 4. It'll go into a tier 5 or a tier 6. Someone said to me, tier 5, by the way, is when the army come in and uphold the restrictions, because they must know that there's going to be a breaking point with at least, I'd like to think, some of the British people. So my answer to your question, Chris, is that unfortunately, since we had an election a year ago, so there's no we can't go to the ballot box and vote and make the politicians aware of what we think. We can't do that. In fact, there may not even be local council elections next year. I doubt that. So what else? What else choice have we got? Yeah. What do you think? What do you say?
Well, I just want to. I agree with the sentiment of what Chris has said, but it's not the word. It's civil unrest. I think actually the Joe Soap, the man and woman on the street, will just go, I have to go to work. I need the money. Yeah. I think that's one part of it. I think the other part is there's a growing, it's a small but a growing number of politicians who are now questioning Boris and Hancock. So I think possibly in the early to mid next year, there might even be a leadership challenge within the Tory party.
Yeah, but I mean, if Boris went tomorrow, who would replace him who's any good?
No, I understand that, and that I think that's another debate on who could replace him. I think at the moment, what's she called? She's doing all the trade deals. Liz. I think she's shining through, and I've never really liked her, but over the past couple of months, I've seen her come into the fore, and she just gets on with the job. So I think she could very well be a contender. But to use the word civil unrest, I think it will just be the Joe Soap saying, I need to earn some money. Otherwise, my kids are starving. My house is gone or it's going to be gone. I will go out to work. And that will take employers also going, I need my employees back. I can't leave them at home. And I think it's several prongs to this. I don't think quite, as simplistic as perhaps Chris's comment was.
Well, I mean, Andy Bell makes the point. Sadly, most people I work with believe and comply with all this cobblers. Andy, I think that's a very accurate statement. most people, well, not most people I know, because it's me. Obviously, the people around my orbit tend to be people who reject all of this. But I mean, I was out today in a major shopping centre. I was out of thousands of people. I think I was the only one without a mask, proudly without a mask. I won't wear a mask because I've got exemption under government regulations as perfectly legal, perfectly lawful. But most people go along with this crap. And the problem I have, Jed, is because they go along with it, there will be more of it. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, and I still haven't worn a mask yet, David. So I'm quite proud of that. But I don't know if I can bring up a comment, but I think Kim is quite right here. I don't know how to bring a comment up.
Yeah, bring it up, sure. If you see it,
I'm not sure how I bring it up though, David.
Just click on it. Click on Kim's comment.
I have done, but it won't come up.
Right. Is that the one, severe suffering? That one?
Yeah. And I think he's right. I think that's what I was trying to get to with the answer to Chris, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
I think the pain of people will bring that change. And I think you're right there, Kim. Yeah, spot on.
Yeah. I mean, Chris also says we can see this being Boris's poll tax moment. And I'd agree with that as well.
Yes.
You see, there's lots of people I know. I wonder, is this the same for you folks on the stream? I know loads of people who conformed during the first lockdown and even the November lockdown. But a lot of those people now are going, oh, just stuff it. He may say we have to close, but actually we're going to find a way. We're going to find a way. Not saying how. Well, hang on. I've just got Boris Johnson's just on the phone to me here. So let me just,
well, you get that, David, and I'll crack on.
You crack on. I've got Boris here.
I do agree with that point, that this is his poll tax moment. But I can see that when they're pushed, because they will be pushed, Boris, Matt Hancock, those sort of people will be pushed aside for somebody new. I can already see now how people in this sort of power, how they can sidestep their responsibilities. There is nobody, just like the chief of police in Manchester, 80,000 crimes unreported.
Oh, did you see that? Yeah.
And the way he got away with it was he just resigned and stepped down and went to early retirement. And that's what politicians do. And that's what Boris will do. That's what Matt Hancock will do. They'll just step down and step aside, being pushed, of course. But they'll never then be held responsible. No,
and they will have left behind the smouldering ruin of a United Kingdom that actually, as of a year ago, was doing pretty good. And now, and that's why when people say, oh, yeah, but it's the virus that has done all this. No, it's not the virus that has done this, Jed. No. It's the government. The government is the virus. COVID is a disease. That's the way I put it. It's the government that's doing the destruction wantonly and systematically and deliberately. It's demolishing huge chunks of our, our economy. And even I'll tell you, there's a quick story here, Jed. There's been a big debate in Northern Ireland about should the schools reopen in January. And there's a pretty much concerted media effort and the educational establishment think, no, we need to keep the schools closed. And need to keep the schools closed because it's just too dangerous to let the schools back. Well, I'll tell you what, how about putting the teachers on 50% furlough then, Jed? I wonder if we did that, do you think they might change their mind? Do you think that might change things a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. But and it would. But do you know we can't?
It won't happen.
No, it won't happen because legally it's not allowed to happen. You cannot pay a government employee less than 100% of their earnings.
Yeah, but
we couldn't do it. Yeah, but you can do it to me. You can do it to you.
Yes. Yeah. And this is one of the reasons why I'm a long time arch critic of the public sector, Jed, because it's a fundamental unfairness. People like you and the guys on the stream here, it's your taxes that fund the public sector, yet you can be furloughed and they will always be on 100%. It's an absolute iniquity, Can I also say, sorry, just another quick one. Ozzy says, my parents were in Belfast for a meal last Friday. It was £6 for a pint. Ozzy, I was out for a meal in Belfast last night. And here's a story. Actually, Jed, this might ring a bell as well for you. I was out for a meal, and I was the restaurant sort of closed. Sort of said, right, final orders at 10:15. 10:15 at night, right? And so we were leaving the restaurant at 10:30. 10:30, I was crossing a main artery road in what would be one of the busiest parts of Belfast. 10:30 last night, Jed. There was an echo from my footsteps as I walked across the road.
I can believe it, David. I can believe
and
it.
The last time I remember that, because I'm so old, was back at the height of the IRA bombing campaign when nobody dared go to Belfast city centre because it was too dangerous. We're back there. And again, those pubs, those restaurants, all those places, nightclubs and all, they're dying. But actually, I'm losing sympathy for them, Jed, as well, because they comply and they go along. And that annoys me no end. Maybe that's not right. But I sort of think, if you comply with this, guys, you're only encouraging the government. You should turn around to the government and say, listen, what you're doing is destroying our livelihoods. So if you try to lock us down again, we will stay open. Then let the government arrest all the restaurateurs, all the pubs, all the coffee. Let them do that. That would break the camel's back, would it not, Chet?
It would, and that's the point about locking down London. If 8 million people decided to leave London, they haven't got 8 million cells to put people in. And yes, compliance is agreement. Agreement is compliance. And we're seeing it in the States at the moment. We're getting more and more restaurateurs and pubs or bars are now standing up to the local government, the state government, whatever it might be, and saying, I am not closing. You're going to have to arrest me. You're going to have to lock me up. I am not closing. And we will get to that point at some point where people start to stand up for their own rights. And just if I may, I know the time, David. Just if
Final word,
it goes back to this OBI thing. I think we are going that way, and I think our social credits will be a major factor. And I tell you now, people on this stream, this time next year, if we're not on the stream discussing OBI and social credits, then I am not Jed.
Okay, well, on that prophecy, Jed, we will be able to determine in 12 months whether you are who you say you are. Having met you, I know you are who you are. But so look, there we go, folks. Look, that's it for this from the stream tonight. Just to wrap things up. So just a reminder, please make sure you follow me on Rumble. Please make sure you subscribe to my daily podcast. And obviously, you can pick me up in Parler. I'm going to be back tomorrow night with James Dellingpole, with Godfrey Bloom, and with Bill Etheridge. So that's going to be a real interesting debate tomorrow night. And then I do hope to have a stream with Rebecca between now and Christmas Day, and also one with my friend the City Troll. So those are all the things I've got lined up for you over the next couple of days. Those are my festive gifts to you lot. The other thing you lot need to do is put your hand in your pocket right now. Go and subscribe, or not subscribe, donate. Go on, altnewsmedia.net. You see it coming along there. Don't look away. All this entertainment you guys are getting. And, if I'm going to afford expensive fashion like this here, I need to get as much support as possible. So, hey, listen, Jed, thank you very much for coming on the stream tonight. And indeed, actually, throughout this year. And as I say, I do welcome anybody else who wants to come on. I'll happily bring you on the stream, just like Jed. We actually could have 3 or 4 on the stream. I'm real happy and relaxed about that, because as I've always said, it's you folk that make this stream, not me. I'm just the enabler of the discussion. So look, that's fundamentally it from me for tonight. I'll see you at 7 p.m. tomorrow night over on the Open Dialogist channel. I know it's a wee bit hard to find compared to mine, but the guests are going to be good fun. I think it'll be a pretty lively conversation. So it'll be a good one to join. And as I say, I will be back again. So this isn't the final word from me before Christmas, but hope you enjoyed the Christmas music at the beginning. And I can assure you there'll be no all I want for Christmas nonsense between now and Christmas Day. That's it for me, folks. You've all been good, and
Merry Christmas, everybody. Have the best Christmas you can, and let's hope 2021 is a bit better.
All right. Thank you very much, Jed. Thank you all very much, folks. And catch up tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Be there.